and welcome back to another Build Insights video. Today we'll be taking a look at the build-out for the Sæpta Julia in Rome. This site represents one of the largest plazas of the ancient city, and it's the 7th subsection of Phase 3 in my years-long effort to recreate all of the ancient city circa mid-4th century CE. This subsection consists of about 5,300 bricks, bringing the running total for the entire SPQR diorama to more than 262,000. It connects directly to the sanctuary of Isis and Serapis, which we explored in the previous video, and it's one of many monumental precincts built in the Campus Martius during the 1st century BCE. A quick shout out to all my members over on Patreon who helped support my work. These projects take many months to realize, and patrons get to see every step along the way, like the digital design insights for the Sæpta Julia, which were shared all the way back in January 2025. It's also worth mentioning, I don't do ad reads or any sponsored content despite near constant requests, so if you find my work to be valuable and you'd like to return some of that value by becoming a member on Patreon, you'll find a link in the description. The Sæpta Julia covered a vast expanse of the Campus Martius. The open-air space was completely paved in travertine and enclosed within a quadriporticus which once housed exquisite works of classical art. The perimeter of the enclosure measured 310 by 120 meters, or just about 1,000 feet by 400 feet, giving the plaza an area of nearly 400,000 square feet. Oftentimes, it can be difficult to imagine the size of these long-lost monuments of ancient Rome, and that's a story the other 1 to 650 scale dioramas in my body of work help to tell. As just one comparison, the entire US Capitol building and its perimeter plinth could have fit neatly within the portico of the Sæpta Julia in Rome. The entire plaza would have been paved in gleaming travertine, and it's probably no exaggeration to say that it might have been blinding on a sunny day. Personally, whenever I visit the Field Museum in Chicago on a day with clear skies, I've always wondered how the Romans ever managed taking a walk through their city without sunglasses. The Sæpta Julia was originally conceived by Julius Caesar as a gathering place for eligible voters in the election of magistrates. The concept wasn't fully realized until a couple decades after Caesar's assassination, when Marcus Lepidus and Marcus Agrippa finally completed the Sæpta in 26 BCE. But by then, voting and other forms of popular representation were quickly becoming things of the past. The Latin word Sæpta means enclosure, so the enormous space here became multi-purpose, but was especially useful for the staging of public spectacles as the importance of voting waned during the imperial era. Hundreds of columns, perhaps of marmo cipollino, lined 2 sides of the plaza, which was likely a few short steps down from the covered arcades of the enclosure. The pair of long porticos on either side of the Sæpta Julia were known to have housed exquisite works of classical art. The east portico shown here was known as the Porticus Meleagri, and the reconstruction is decorated with frescoes and colored marble inlay along the perimeter walls, along with an assortment of classical sculptures. One of the more peculiar exhibits found here was a large wooden beam measuring 100 Roman feet. This beam was left over from the construction of the long-span roof over the nearby Derivatorium, which we saw several weeks ago in a previous video. The west portico was known as the Porticus Argonautorum, which, as you might be able to tell from the title, was originally painted with scenes of the adventures of the Argonauts. Fragments of the western portico can still be seen today along the east side of the Pantheon, but other than that, almost nothing remains of the 400,000 square foot Sæpta Julia. Once there was no longer a need for face-saving popular elections in Rome, the Sæpta Julia was used for other public events. One of the earliest were ludi, including gladiatorial games held in the Sæpta in commemoration of its patron builder, Marcus Agrippa, after his death in 12 BCE. A decade later, the Sæpta hosted more ludi in celebration of the dedication of the Temple of Mars Ultor in the Forum of Augustus. We saw that reconstruction over a year ago back in Phase 2. The Saepta also served as the starting point for the triumphal procession of Vespasian and Titus in 71 CE, and it's possible that the troops from their 4 legions camped in the Saepta the night before, since the city was overrun by spectators. The Sæpta Julia also carried the final stretches of the Aqua Virgo. This aqueduct wound its way over the north and west walls before coming to its terminus at the Baths of Agrippa behind the Pantheon, both of which we'll be exploring in the next video. The eastern portico of the Sæpta Julia was interrupted by an enormous quadrifrons, or 4-sided triumphal arch, near its center. We know very little about this arch, other than the fact its ruins were famously drawn by Antonio da Sangallo, but unfortunately these remains were no longer visible by 1872. I hope you enjoyed these insights into the Sæpta Julia. If you'd like to see even more behind-the-scenes insights, you can check out the exclusive posts over on my Patreon. Aside from supporting my work, Patreon membership also gets you early access to all these insights videos. Stay tuned for the next video, where we'll be taking a look at Rome's best preserved ancient building, the Pantheon, along with the adjacent Baths of Agrippa. In the meantime, thanks for following along, and I'll see you in the next one.